Now, in the past year, we've seen a lot of concerns coming from the global growth, which is expected to slow down. What do you expect in 2019, and what factors are likely to drive this global growth?
In the case of global growth, we will expect 2018 to end at just 3.7%. And 2019 to be flat at 3.7%. There are a number of factors that are constraining global growth today, not least of which is obviously the new protectionism that Trump introduced once he said America first and say I'm focusing on my own country. Then, of course, other major economies are doing the same thing. But that was exacerbated with the U.S.-China trade tensions. That has multiplier effect. And, of course, with the systemic central banks in the developed markets normalizing their interest rates, you've had the effect that, investment capital flows are leaving developing markets and going back to the developed economies. And that also has its own negative implications for growth. So we expect that this year growth will be flat at 3.7%, although it's recovered from the 3.3% it was back in 2016. But we don't see much excitement so far for global growth.
I'm still talking about the global economy, oil. That is where the oil price, coming here since October 2018 rally, when oil price, peaked at $86 per barrel. We have seen a reduction in prices. Right now is I think slightly above $60,
yes,
per barrel. So what is the outlook on this, and how would you even tie it to all the other global economic issues that you have mentioned?
Yeah, we see global demand for oil at 101.5 million barrels per day. It's actually declining, coming off from 2 million barrels. Overall production has increased by 400,000 barrels coming from non-OPEC producers, and this, the U.S. is actually the biggest culprit. Non-OPEC is contributing mostly 2.5 million barrels per day increment, while the OPEC group is actually seeing a decline to 37 million barrels per day from 38 million barrels per day. But when you then put that against the overall tepid demand, which is actually weaker this year than last year, we'd expect that oil prices for 2019 will remain around $60 rather than the $71 average of 2018. So that has implications for Nigeria's economy because obviously our main income is from sale of crude and associated gas. So this year we are forecasting that it will be around $60 per barrel through the year.
Okay, aside from the implications of the developments in the oil market has on Nigerian economy, you talked about the issue of protectionism. We talked about the China-US trade tensions and all of that. How do you relate that to Nigeria? What are the possible implications? What possible implications do you see would come out in that for Nigeria? And what do you think the government can actually do to really watch that?
Well, I think, for us, when you think about, taking it from a picture of the global and then coming into Nigeria, and then thinking of our perspective in terms of what the election outcome can bring, we are looking at three scenarios. One, there's a base case scenario in which case the elections are free and fair, the incumbent returns, and policies continue. Although they are not really sort of policies that would say that are exciting at the moment. There's nothing major being reformed in the economy to sort of pull in capital against the tide of capital leaving Nigeria and leaving other similar developing markets. So in that scenario, we think that economic growth in Nigeria will be about 2.5% 2019. It will be an uptick from 2018, where we're looking to end the year at 1.9% GDP growth. Now, in our pessimistic case scenario, and this is a situation where, like I explained earlier, the elections are judged not to be free and fair, and there's widespread instability and insecurity in the country, we then see that the GDP growth would decline from last year. Last year was 1.9. We may see it coming at 1% by the end of the year because, agriculture will be severely impacted, services will be impacted. In our optimistic scenario, in that case, regardless of who wins, we see a new government coming in which is willing to introduce the much-needed reforms we've talked about. We've talked about power sector reform, oil and gas sector reform, There's so many things that we can do better in this country with our own capacity. We then see that such a new government, whether it's the incumbent or any other party, that could stimulate growth in 2019 to above the 2.5. We're looking towards 3, maybe 2.93% by the end of the year. And indeed, if those reforms are implemented, you could see that getting to a historical trend rate of about 6 to 7%.
You have painted 3 scenarios here,
Yes.
3 base cases: pessimistic, optimistic. You know, looking at these scenarios that you have painted, which do you think really suffices? Which do you think is playing up, is rearing its head now, considering the factors that are coming up, the election and all the government policies coming up, and looking at your projection into the year?
At the moment, I think we would adjudge that we are more at the base case level, although there are signals that we may be drifting towards a pessimistic case. I mean, the incumbent government has, often tends to trip up on its own feet and creates tensions in the system. And I think that there could be they could do more to manage sort of the political environment and, sort of communicate to Nigerians.
When you talk about doing more, what do you expect really from them? What exactly do you expect from them?
Last week most of this week we're talking about the CJN. That crisis could have been better managed. And I think that, from what I've seen from most of the legal luminaries that have discussed it, there's a better process on how you may decide on whether the CJN was guilty of any crime than what had been presented through the Code of Conduct Tribunal, which has now been put aside. But again, it's one of those things that's stoking problems. And this is happening at the same time where there are 25 people killed in Sokoto State. I'm sure most people missed it, coming from the challenges you're seeing in Zamfara, where maybe another 15 people died over the weekend. And so there's been so much gory issues happening that we've now sort of gotten used to, which is abnormal. And I think that more effort needs to be done to cool down the political environment, do more in the security architecture of the country. We seem to be losing ground even to Boko Haram on the northeast and some terrorists on the northwest. Who knows what's happening on the south side end? So
all right,
these are issues that
Mr. Choke, you have to hold your thoughts there. Let's take a quick break. We'll continue with this conversation.
Okay.
We'll take another break, and when we come back, we will continue with this discussion looking at the Nigerian economy in 2019. Just stay with us.